So we created a kind of religious fanatic force, and the purpose was to kill Russians. How anyone could be stupid enough not to think about the long-term consequences is beyond me.
President Obama has ordered the first major military deployment of his presidency, we learned late today.
Well, it's not very complicated. They arrived in a matter of days on Christmas Eve in 1979. They could be home by Christmas Eve.
If we look at Afghanistan, what we can see is, I think, the application of a faulty lesson.
He's sending an additional 17,000 American troops to Afghanistan.
You see the reason why we are spending billions of dollars in defense production. The leaders of Russia tell us their only concern is the defense of their own nation. Is this so?
The driving force behind these new global policies in the war on terror was the power of a dark fantasy. A sinister web of hidden and interlinked threats that stretched around the world. And such was the power of that fantasy that it also began to transform the very nature of politics. Because increasingly, politicians were discovering that their ability to imagine the future and the terrible dangers it held gave them a new and heroic role in the world. In the post-war years, politicians had also used their imaginations, but to project optimistic visions of a better future that they could create for their people. And it was these visions that gave them power and authority.
And we have seen Americans in uniform storming mountain strongholds and charging through sandstorms. We have fought the terrorists across the earth because the lives of our citizens are at stake. And America and the world are safer.
In a society that believes in nothing, fear becomes the only agenda. Whilst the 20th century was dominated between a conflict between a free market right and a socialist left, even though both of those outlooks had their limitations and their problems, at least they believed in something. Whereas what we are seeing now is a society that believes in nothing. And a society that believes in nothing is particularly frightened by people who believe in anything. And therefore, we label those people as fundamentalists or fanatics, and they have much greater purchase in terms of the fear that they instill in society than they truly deserve. But that's a measure of how much we have become isolated and atomized, rather than of their inherent strength.
You see, you need to learn from history that there were